Hey, good morning. It is 8 o'clock. We will begin as soon as we see the recording. Look at that. All I have to do is say it and it's magically there. All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Scar. Today is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when you're called to speak. Again, pressing *6 is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Okay, we will begin with the commissioner's roll call. Commissioner Yamamoto is out of the office today, which is why I'm leading this meeting. So he will not be joining us, but Commissioner Bell, are you with us today? She may also be traveling today. They both were out of area for the holiday, so it looks like it is me today. I will carry on. All right, so we will begin with Adventist Health Tillamook. Eric Swanson, are you with us today?
I am. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So let's see. Our hospital census this morning is 18, so we've got a busy day around the hospital today. 18 inpatients with one brand new baby. We have less than 3 patients admitted with a positive COVID diagnosis. No patients boarding in the emergency department. We have 6 surgery cases scheduled today. All are elective or non-urgent. Ambulance crews transported 7 911 patients yesterday, 1 transfer to Portland, and 1 transport home. The number of hospitalized patients with COVID-19 across Oregon is 311, which is 12 more than yesterday. And this is from the weekly report dated November 23rd. There are 45 COVID-19 patients in intensive care unit beds, 5 more than yesterday. 13 of those patients are on ventilators. 4.3% of all emergency department visits across Oregon were for COVID-like illness. There were 5,249 emergency department visits across Oregon yesterday. There are 16 available adult ICU beds out of 325 total. That's 5% availability, and 77 available adult non-ICU beds out of 1,905. That's 4% availability, and those are both regional numbers. On yesterday, Dr. Peter Graven at OHSU updated his COVID forecast. He said that more people are in the hospital with COVID. Hospitalizations are expected to increase until December 8th and then peak at 402. And remember, we're at 311 as of the 23rd. RSV cases have surged in Oregon. Hospitals are likely to admit more people with RSV through November, and then see cases drop through the winter. Flu cases have increased in Oregon, though not as much as in the southeast U.S. Wastewater tests show a slight increase in infections. More people with COVID are visiting emergency departments, and he also noted that emergency department visits are up generally. More tests are coming back positive. As of November 15th, 4% of Oregon's ICU beds had COVID patients. As of November 17th, 5 pediatric patients were in the hospital with COVID. RSV is expected to remain a significant problem in the next few weeks, especially among children. Flu is picking up, but fewer people are in the hospital than before COVID. And regarding U.S. hospital census, some increase is evident in the mountain region and slower growth in both the West, North Central, and Pacific. All other regions in the U.S. are flat or declining. So that's all I've got for you this morning, unless you've got questions for me.
Thank you, Eric. No question, just sort of the little commentary that I think we've all had for quite some time, which is that our ICU bed capacity in Oregon is low. And we are once again looking at it being even lower as we move forward in this peak toward the middle of December, when we expect the COVID cases to begin to drop off again. And with RSV being higher, and the flu being up, if you have not received your vaccinations, and that is something that you are able to do, please get your vaccinations. You know, we know again in Oregon, we have a limited number of hospital beds, and that isn't changing. So we need to make sure that we're taking advantage of the technologies that are there to keep ourselves from needing those hospital beds.
Absolutely. It's the bed capacity is a big problem, and ideally we don't want anybody hospitalized. So.
Thank you very much, Eric. We appreciate the update.
You're very
welcome.
It
just is always a good grounding for all of us. And how are we taking care of ourselves? when we're sick, are we staying home so we don't share it? And are we making sure that we're caring for ourselves so that we don't need the hospitals?
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. We will move on to the Coastal Caucus. Suzanne, I know, is with us today, and I'm not sure about Representative Gomberg, but Suzanne, you want to kick us off?
Why, thank you. Good morning. I'd love to. So I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And the lights are up. The trees are being decorated. It's the beginning of a really festive season. I'm going to be decorating a tree with friends for the museum tree festival. And remember that that's on the 9th. And I think you'll be able to come into the museum the week before and see those trees. And they're always beautiful. I want to take an opportunity to congratulate our football team and their wonderful showing, and the community for also being there for them, being able to play and show the wonderful sportsmanship that we have within our community. So I've got some really interesting things coming up this week for me. I'm going to take a tour of rural hospitals up and down the coast. I have been looking into recovery schools, and that is a concept that's going forward to address teenage addiction and the education opportunities that can be afforded to especially young people who need that recovery school. I've also been looking into issues surrounding reproductive medicine and what is available to people. And when I talk about these things, I want you to know that I'm learning about them, because I think that in the position that I'm in, I've got to have as much information to be able to make educated decisions as possible. And I can't just go off and say, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I don't believe in that. I've got to know what it is people are proposing. So this week, we've also got the Housing Commission, Tillamook County Housing Commission. And coming up real soon is also going to be a coastal housing commission that is going to be up in Seaside. And so that's really exciting, because we're addressing housing issues on the local level up and down the coast. People are, we have some really interesting challenges here with the ocean on one side and the hills on the other, and buildable land inventories. And all of those things have got to be taken into consideration when we also are building houses and apartments and complexes for people to live in. And then there's also the first meeting of the Wilson River Highway Corridor Advisory Committee. And I'm really anxious for that, because I know that ODOT has been working on that already, and I'm anxious to see what it is that has happened. I'm also going to participate in something called the Oregon Civics Conference. In my first term, I was a proponent of adding civics as a requirement to our curriculum. And I worked hard to be able to pass that bill. And so now we're seeing, what is going to be coming out of civics education, especially for our high school folks. And I'm going to participate in that. If you want a good summary of everything that the legislature is going to be undertaking in the next couple of weeks, because Ledge Week starts next week. Rep. Gomberg's newsletter this week has a real good recap of everything that is going to be required of us, because at this point in time, I'm finishing up in the House of Representatives, and I'm getting ready to start in the Senate. And there's all kinds of important things like, where's my office going to be? And, those funny little things. Where am I going to be? But there are all kinds of committees that have been happening in the interim that we will be getting reports on. next week. And the work in the legislature doesn't quit just because they're not sitting in Salem. So I just wanted you to know that we're going to be very busy next week. And if you want to recap, look at Rep. Gomberg's newsletter. We also have a Coastal Caucus meeting this week. And the Coastal Caucus is very important because it represents all of the legislators up and down the coast and our ability to work together for the best intentions of our coast. And, you know, we've got king tides too. So we've probably got people coming here that are not going to be paying attention to safety issues. So beware of that also. This is a season of caring, and our churches and our organizations, especially our Tillamook Ecumenical Council, are participating in the Christmas food basket program. And I want to give them kudos for that. They have been doing that for so many years, providing food baskets for people in need throughout the Christmas season. And their hard work, it's a group of 4 churches, and they work together, and they really deserve accolades for all that they do. I won't be here next week because of all of the meetings I have, and most important, that North Coast Housing Summit in Seaside. So I wanted to let you know that. Coming up next week also is the Chamber Banquet in Pacific City. And one of the Native Sons will be here, Mr. Oram, to talk and be the speaker at that banquet. And it really should be good. So if you are available, you have to get a ticket and participate. So there was one other thing I was going to say, and that is that all kinds of festive things are happening. Please, folks, be careful. Watch for the people on the sidewalk, the people crossing the street. Everybody is gawking at the lights. Make sure you're paying attention to what's going on in the street in front of you. So with that, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be able to do this. And I'll sign off.
Thank you, Suzanne, Senator-elect. Representative Gomberg, I think that you are with us. Are you ready to go next?
I am indeed. Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Tillamook County. Goodness, we are going to miss Representative Weber over in the House as she makes her transition to the Senate side of the building. I've enjoyed having her as a neighbor up on the 4th floor. We'll be anxious to see who moves into the space that she vacates, because that doesn't automatically go to her successor from Tillamook County. But had a couple of items I wanted to share with you and your listeners this morning. First is, late last week, I had a rather pointed meeting with the leadership of the Youth Development Division. They have been holding listening sessions all around the state, 10 of them, North Coast, South Coast, the Valley, Southern Oregon, a couple of them in Eastern Oregon, the metropolitan area. And I called them up and wanted to sit down and say, why the heck didn't you find time in that agenda to have a meeting on the Central Coast? And there was kind of an eerie silence in response to that question. But I said, well, they said, we had one on the North Coast up in Astoria. And I said, yeah, I know that. And they said, we had one down in for Southern Oregon coast as well. I said, yeah, I looked at your schedule. I see that you held that meeting in Roseburg. How are the beaches in Roseburg? And again, it was quiet for a moment, but I wanted to make the point as forcefully as I could that if they're going to travel around the state and listen to people and hear what their concerns and their priorities and their needs are as they develop their budget, they need to be coming here too. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult for me to support the budget they come up with if we're the one place in Oregon that they didn't bother to go and listen. Well, tomorrow morning, I am going to be meeting with the leadership of Business Oregon. Now, Business Oregon is not a corporation. It's not a group of industries. It's, in fact, a state agency that deals with, economic development, job creation, small business, ports. And they are having their leadership retreat out here at the coast. And I'm going to go and meet with them for breakfast tomorrow morning. And I'll tell you what I'm going to say to them. I'm going to say, $50,750. $50,750 is the median family income in most of my district. That means that half the people in the district are making less than $50,000 and half are making more than $50,000, but 50 is the median. If you were to take that same measurement in Washington County, it would be $80,000. 50,000 here, 80,000 there. And you got to ask yourself, what the heck's going on? Well, part of it is, of course, that they make computer chips up in Washington County, and here we're making fish and chips, and we make some pretty darn good fish and chips, but the economies of those industries are a little bit different. But we need to be talking in serious terms about how we spread the bounty of Oregon across all of Oregon. Wages are going up everywhere, but they're going up faster in some places than others. And, you know, our expenses here on the Central Coast are in most cases the same and in some cases higher than in the metropolitan areas, and yet they're making more money there. How do we ensure that some of these good new jobs, these good new businesses, these good new opportunities come to our part of Oregon? And that's part of the message that I've been trying to take to Business Oregon, to the legislature, and to the committees that I serve on. When we gather in legislative days in the next few weeks, I have been tasked by the Speaker of the House to coordinate a work group. We've got 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans reporting back on what we can do about rural economic development. And we're coming forward with a series of proposals that addresses, well, everything from meat production and getting people licensed to butcher beef in rural communities to how we get more Oregon seafood into Oregon restaurants, how we can support the outdoor recreation community, how we can better support our small business development centers, how we can create more buildable lands, and how we can create more housing for the people that want to work here but can't find a place to live here. It's a $100 million package that we're going to be presenting to the House Economic Development Committee when they meet, and then we're going to try and bring those forward as a series of 6 different bills when we convene in January. Very quickly, I'll remind you that we are coming in at the end of the first week of January to get sworn in, and that's when we then formally select the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate, and then we come home for a week. And during that week, the new leadership will assign members to committees and sign all the bills that have been introduced to those committees. And we come back about a week after the formal start of the session and begin all those committee meetings and hearings and individual meetings in our offices. So the legislative session will convene at the very beginning of 2023. It's the 6-month-long long session where we consider bills and we consider a 2-year budget, and we'll conclude that at the end of June. At this point, it appears that the Capitol building will be open. We have been closed for COVID, but now we are under reconstruction for seismic renovation in the building. That's closed off a lot of the public spaces. The governor has moved out of the building. The Secretary of State, the Treasurer, and a lot of the legislative support offices have moved out of the Capitol. But the legislative offices where Suzanne and I will be serving from, they will be open. The Chamber of the Senate and the Chamber of the House will be open. And our committee room wing will be open so that we can come back to having live in-person meetings, although we've made provisions for people to also appear remotely when we start doing that. So a lot of things on the horizon coming up, and I urge people to be engaged, to be involved, and to be informed about what happens in your legislature, and to let those of us that are serving you know what you think, when we're on the right track, when we're on the wrong track, or your opinion before we begin any track at all. So all of that coming up, and I look forward to to the start of the session, because there's a lot of work that remains to be done here on the Central Coast. So with that, I'll pause to see if you've got questions for Senator-elect Weber or myself, or we can move on with your morning agenda.
Thank you, Representative.
It's Suzanne. May I add one thing to what you said? You know, when people call us and email us and let us know what their concerns are, a lot of times they don't give us their contact information, like their telephone number. or how we can reach them, their email address. If you have something that a burning desire to talk to us or an issue that we need to be very aware of, please also include your contact information. It's very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Senator-elect. I just wanted to jump in there really quick while I have both of you on the phone with us and let you know that I am co-chair for the Association of Oregon Counties Transportation and Community Development Committee, and I'm super interested, Representative Gomberg, in talking with you and getting some more details about the bills that you're talking about bringing forward. I think that they're going to end up falling squarely in my wheelhouse in this committee, and look forward to hopefully being able to work with you and support those bills as they go forward.
Well, I'll get you a copy of the overview and encourage you to tune in to the House Economic Development Committee when they meet during legislative days. You can, of course, listen to that from the comfort of your office or home, since all of that is broadcast over OLIS.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay. Did I happen to miss whether Senator Anderson was with us this morning? I don't think so. I'm looking at the list, but I'll one more shout out to make sure I didn't miss any Coastal Caucus members. Okay, hearing none, thank you so much to the Coastal Caucus, and we will move on our agenda and listen for community health. Marlene Putman or Ed Colson, do we have either of you with us today? Okay, not hearing anyone, we'll keep trucking along. The Halem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Gal.
I have 3 announcements this morning: name change, community survey, and open enrollment. So first of all, we will start formally transitioning to our new name, the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Thank you, Commissioner, for using that name now. That's still very, very appropriate. But we will continue this process the first week in January, after many, many months of getting everything lined up and all paperwork in order. We are finally nearly ready to make this officially official. Community survey, we are still seeking feedback from the community to make sure our current hours of operation meet the needs of our patients and the community. If you still would like to provide input for us, please find our survey on our website, reinhardtclinic.org. And finally, open enrollment. It is still open enrollment, and our certified enrollment assisters are busy helping people sign up for health insurance, either the Oregon Health Plan or through the Oregon Health Insurance Marketplace. Holding special enrollment event Tuesday, December 13th, that's next week, I believe, 2:15 to 5:15, again, 2:15 to 5:15 at the library in Tillamook. Details are listed on our website, again, reinhardtclinic.org. And while our assistants do not offer advice on Medicare, they can offer referrals to agents certified through the Oregon Health Insurance Benefits Assistance Program. Finally, in closing, we are here to serve you. If you're interested in scheduling an appointment with one of our medical providers, including behavioral health providers, our phone number is 800-368-5182 for more information or to schedule an appointment. And those are my announcements this morning. Thank you. Any questions, please ask.
Thank you, Gail. Any questions? Okay, well, we are pleased to be using the title Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. I know that name changes take a bit for the community to grab a hold of, and we'll keep working to get that out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Frank is unable to join us today, so we will move right on to the Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Brown, are you with us today?
Good morning, I am here.
Good morning.
So it's been a couple weeks since I've been able to join the community update, and with hunting season and different things going on, I just wasn't able to make it, so I'm glad to be here this morning. I'm basically going to just isolate and skip run my conversation right to Measure 114. Although I'm not going to be able to provide a whole lot of answers, but I'm hoping that maybe I can clarify a few things. I'm being absolutely inundated with media requests and public requests with any type of clarification as to what this measure means or how this office is going to handle it. As I'm sure everybody is aware, there's been some sheriffs that have come out with a pretty strong stance. My stance was fairly neutral, not even necessarily neutral, it was more fact-based. And the reason that it's fact-based is because there is a tremendous amount of unknowns right now. The process for the permit to purchase, it has not even been established. There's supposed to be a universal application, and that application has not been created or sent out yet. There's already legal challenges in place. I expect more to come. Legal challenges do target the magazine capacity portion of this law, although it does focus on, it focuses on that, but there is some other stuff associated with it because different parts of this is the way it's set up, from what I understand, is that portions of it can be challenged separately, I guess you can say. But the reality is right now there are so many unknowns that I do not have answers for what this is going to look like and what it's going to entail. What I can say is as your sheriff, I believe that this bill is riddled with problems. I don't think it's going to solve issues as it's proposed, but what it amounts to is that the voters of Oregon have passed it. Tillamook County did not pass it. Whether or not people are aware of that. And I, obviously need to do what I can to follow the law, follow the Constitution. There is a legal challenge in place right now for a California magazine ban. Then that is expected to have an opinion through the Ninth Circuit Court shortly, hopefully by spring, and that may be an answer to the magazine capacity portion of this. But the reality is that there are so many unknowns and so many variables, and anything that I say could be completely incorrect in a matter of days or weeks, just because it's ever changing. What I can tell you is OSP is tasked with creating the rules and the procedures to go with this. I can also tell you that we do not have the staff in our office to keep up with this when it goes in place. So until and if we can find more staff to do this without cutting into our budget and hopefully adding to it, we're going to lose cops off the street. Or we're going to lose positions off of the streets for police if we don't find a way to budget for another position to run these permits. So it's going to hurt us, and it's going to hurt us bad. And we, like I said, we don't even have the procedures in place or established through OSP yet to even know what it is that we exactly have to do. The legal challenges could result in a temporary stay while an opinion is being rendered by federal courts. But we, again, don't know if that's going to happen. So there's just an absolute tremendous amount of unknowns at this point. I did publicly come out and oppose this measure, and I came out and opposed it for very good reasons. I believe that it's evidence-based and based upon, my years of experience, as well as, the opinions of many others. But it is what it is at this point, and we have to work through it. What I also can say is that I will do everything in my power to not violate the Second Amendment. And if I do not issue permits to the public, then I am standing in the way of people being able to buy guns. Whether I agree with it or not, I will not stand in the way of people being able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. But again, we have no idea exactly what this process is going to look like and what it's going to entail. We do not know what the live fire portion of it's going to be. We do not know what ranges are going to be qualified, what the parameters are for qualifying those ranges. All of this is unknown. And I don't know how they're going to get this done by the 8th of December. My guess is that they won't. So it's all just completely up in the air at this point, and I do not have any answers better than that. I can apologize all day for not having answers, but at the end of the day, the answers are just not there, and I'm trying to be as upfront and honest about it, and not trying to be, I'm not trying to hide anything, obviously, and as soon as I do have answers, I will get those answers out. But it is a hot topic right now. And as everybody can imagine, they're looking to me for answers I don't have. So that's about all I got on that particular measure. Other than that, we are just continuing to plug away. Next week, I will be attending the Oregon State Sheriff's Association annual conference. It's a week-long event in Bend where all the sheriffs across the state, their personnel, attend a conference. There's phenomenal training opportunities. There's meetings and subcommittees that get together and have their annual meetings. And it's capped off with an awards banquet that celebrates deputies or staff members from across the state, as well as volunteers. So looking forward to that event. It's a big one. It's a very, very good training and conference. So that'll be myself and a handful of members from this office will be attending that. So that is what I've got for now. Before I take questions, I just would like to say, as a side note, personal side note to current Representative Weber, Senator-elect Weber, I'm actually hoping to be able to have a conversation with you, but I don't have your number. So if there's any way you could reach out to me, that would be great. Other than that, I'm done.
Thank you, Sheriff. Appreciate that. I think the ballot measure opportunity in Oregon for folks to get enough signatures and get something on the ballot has both its pros and cons. And I think we've got two huge case studies in the last couple of years where we have seen the con to that. And I think Measure 110 was one of those, where the concept as it was put forward was very straightforward, but the actual implementation of it was not straightforward and has had negative unintended consequences. And I think as we look at Measure 114, we are also looking at something that the writers of the initiative did not have the knowledge and experience to understand the implementation challenges that would come from that. And unfortunately, what happens with those is that it comes down to the state and ultimately the counties to figure out how to implement something that was written by folks who really just didn't have the knowledge to understand as to what would happen, what the impacts would be. So I appreciate the sheriff working to keep the transparency on that particular one and what will happen in our county. It's certainly an unknown, and the commissioners will be working closely with the sheriff in relation to budgeting to determine how and where we can do that. Budget is an issue for the county currently. It continues to be an issue, and finding extra money is not an easy thing to do. There isn't extra money in the county budget. We have our county budget cycle coming up. We will have public hearings in April. For anyone who just heard me say that and thought, that's not true. I invite any of you to visit with myself, to reach out to our treasurer, to attend our budget hearings, to get very familiar with the county budget, to understand where your tax dollars go and what challenges we face in meeting things such as these mandates that come down from the state that we don't have any money to go with them. So I will get off my soapbox on that one and hand it over to emergency management. Randy, are you with us today? I see we have a storm looming.
You bet I'm here. I'm just really glad that we made it through last weekend, the king tides, without any flooding in our county, which was really nice. This week's turning a little different. We're looking at wetter and colder weather. And Weather Service predicting over the next few days about 1 to 2 inches of rain. They're saying it will raise the river levels, but flooding concerns still remain pretty low. So we're going to get the moisture, but we're not going to get the flooding. So hopefully that will hold true. The big thing is the National Weather Service has issued a high wind warning for the coast. They're looking at south winds coming in. They're looking at 10 to 15, well, 15 to 20, up to 30 miles an hour. They're also saying that along the beachfront, those wind gusts could get as high as 40 to 50 miles an hour. So let's all be prepared and make sure that we tie things down and that we make sure that while we're traveling, we travel safely through the rain and all the wind that we're going to be getting over the next few days. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. Okay, moving on to the Board of Commissioners, and it appears I am the only commissioner here today, so I will make a few comments. I want to echo on what Representative Weber said. We do have the North Oregon Coast Housing Summit coming up on December the 6th. This is something that I've organized in partnership with Oregon Housing Community Services, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, the Association of Oregon Counties, Columbia Pacific CCO. There's just a group of us that have come together and are looking forward to celebrating what's working. I think that so often when we talk about housing, we talk about what's not working. We focus on the barriers, and the barriers are real. And we've been highlighting those barriers for the last, well, gosh, I started working on it in 2015. So it's been quite a few years that we've been, waving our red flag saying we have issues, we need help. And I think what's exciting about this summit is it's an opportunity to look at what help has come, both from the state level as well as the local level, as well as private industry. I mean, there's been a lot of different partners that have come to the table in the ensuing, I guess it's 7 years that we've been working on this and said, we do want to help. How can we help? And in Tillamook County, we have a certain model we have used with the Housing Commission that has helped to move things forward. But Clatsop, Columbia, and Lincoln counties have also been working on this and also coming up with solutions that look a little different than ours. And they're having success. So the goal of this conference is really to come together to hear what the state's next moves are with some presentations from DLCD and OHCS, and then to share the successes that each region has had in getting things developed. And so we'll hear directly from some developers that have done projects, and they'll talk to us about what's different between working on the coast and working inland and how they have found success with that. So that's going to be a really, really, I think, fun opportunity to learn from one another here on the coast and to celebrate what's working well. So if you are interested in that, have not yet signed up, there are still spaces available thanks to the sponsorships that we have that are covering the costs, and that's Columbia Pacific CCO, Oregon Housing Community Services, and Department of Land Conservation and Development have all sponsored this with actual dollars to pay for lunches and the cost of the venue and all of those things. So we do have slots available. The sign-on is available through the Association of Oregon Counties. You can go to their website and search up the summit, and you can still sign up. So last I knew, we had about 200 people signed up, and I think we can go as high as 250. So if you are hearing what I'm saying and thinking, ooh, that sounds like fun, and I want to go, it's December 6th. It will be from 8:30 to 3 at the Seaside Convention Center. So that's the Housing Summit. Representative Weber also mentioned we have our Housing Commission meeting this week. It is our recurring meeting. It always occurs on the first Thursday of the month. It is from 9 to 11. You are welcome to join us at the Port of Tillamook Bay conference room, or you can join online, and you can get that link by going to our community development webpage and clicking on the Housing Commission link on the left-hand side. There's a tab there for Housing Commission, and it will give you the call-in information if you would like to listen. Let's see. The other thing that Representative Weber mentioned is we have the Oregon 6 Wilson River Highway Corridor Study Stakeholder Advisory Committee, which is also being held out at the Port of Tillamook Bay, and it is from 5 to 7 this coming Thursday. So I know that she and I will both be attending that as part of that Stakeholder Advisory Committee. Okay, I will leave it there, and I'm going to move on to our cities. I know that I do have from Manzanita, Leila Aman.
Good morning, Commissioner. Thank you. Just a few brief announcements today. Wanted to mention that the city is hosting a tree lighting ceremony. It's our first in many years at Underhill Plaza, which will be the site of our new city hall. That'll be held on December 3rd from 5 to 7 p.m. We'll have Santa and a fire truck and some cookies and warm beverages and music for folks. So looking forward to a community gathering there and hope to see some of you at that. We'll have a council meeting next Tuesday. It's our last, next Wednesday. It's the last one of the year. We expect it to be a light council meeting, and I'll share the agenda next week. We set that today. The League of Oregon Cities is hosting a new elected officials training tomorrow morning, actually here in Manzanita at the Pine Grove Community House. So hopefully get to meet some new elected officials, and that's also open to existing elected officials that might need a refresher course. So that's happening tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. I did want to mention that we are not having a planning commission meeting this month. but we are accepting applications for 3 planning commission seats that are going to be open in January. The applications are available on our website and would welcome members of the Manzanita community to apply for those positions. We will be holding court on December 16th. And one other survey that we currently have out, we just recently held a town hall where we had our construction manager, general contractor, and our architect for our city hall go over some due diligence and research that we've been doing on existing buildings. And we're asking the community to give us feedback on the next direction of the design process. The meeting and information was recorded, and that's available on our website, as well as the survey, which is also available until December 9th. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on, Nehalem. Do we have anyone from Nehalem today? Melissa Thompson-Kiefer. Okay, how about Wheeler? Either Mayor Doug Honeycutt or City Manager Mary Johnson. Rockaway Beach, Mayor Sue Wilson. How about Garibaldi, Mayor Tim Hall?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I'd like to again invite folks along in Tillamook County to join the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad for the Candy Cane Express. It runs Saturday and Sunday from 12 noon, 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. It's a 1-hour trip, round trip to Rockaway Beach, where they serve hot chocolate and cookies. It's the ride is in a historic covered train car, and so it's an exciting opportunity to get to enjoy a train ride from Garibaldi to our neighboring Rockaway Beach. And again, I'd like to invite folks who haven't done it to take the ride on our historic trains. That's all that I have today.
Excellent. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, Bay City, Mayor David McCall.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me today?
Good morning. Well, you can.
Okay, thank you. I had a little technical challenge last week and didn't work. But so I wanted to share with you today what I wanted to share last week, and that was the week of Thanksgiving. And I wanted to share that we've really been thankful and grateful for a lot of things this year, including the number of grants that we have received. And last week we were informed that we have received yet another grant, and that is $250,000 for the small city allotment. And we will be using that to do a paving, repair and reconstruction project on the area around Spruce and 16th in town. That's an area that's been in need of repair for several years. We will be able to go out and fix that up. So we're thankful for that, and so closer to it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Okay. Moving on. Tillamook City Manager Nathan George.
Good morning, Commissioner. Can you hear me?
Good morning. I can.
Good morning. Great. Thank you so much. Yes, I do have several things this morning, and I appreciate that. So number one, I wanted to say that the city has several job openings available, including the city recorder, which is a position that focuses mostly on overseeing our records management for the city of Tillamook, as well as preparing minutes and agenda packets for the city council. So please contact the city's human resource department or visit our website at tillamookor.gov. In the public works department, street crews are sweeping the streets to ensure to clear the catch basins and drains for upcoming rain. Also wanted to say thank you to the businesses that are out sweeping their sidewalks. I see some that are, and I know a particular one I've been trying to stop by and let them know that we really appreciate that when people take care of their sidewalks, which all business owners or residents are responsible for. It really helps keep our streets cleaner and our sidewalks cleaner. Crews are also preparing for the Christmas tree lighting event this Saturday, December 3rd, and I'll talk more about that at the end. The water department crews are in the process of installing a new Culligan system with all necessary controls and telemetry, which is very helpful to our water system. Wastewater crews are working on solids handling and basic operations. last Monday and Tuesday, a waterway at the west end of the Wilson River Loop was cleaned out to prevent flooding at the intersection of Highway 101 and the Wilson River Loop. Previously, the catch basins near this intersection fill up and cause standing water. Cleaning this waterway along with regular maintenance will prevent this from happening. That's also, we had to get an emergency permit through the state in order to do that. And to have the long-term fix, it requires at least 2 permits from the state and a permit from the federal government, from the U.S. Corps of Engineers. So it is a lot of work, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we work through these processes. Our on-call employees this week responded to a vehicle versus power pole last Thursday and coordinated with the Tillamook PUD for traffic control. I was driving through downtown when we lost all the power, and I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience as we work to get that remedy taken care of. Public work crews operate from 6:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock Monday through Friday. To reach an on-call employee during the hours, I'll say the number here, but you can always go to our website to find it, which is 503-842-2343. You can call our main number as well. For all other inquiries, please contact Public Works at tillamookor.gov. And that's also on our website, but you can contact Public Works at tillamookor.gov. In the police department, Sergeant Harrell and Sergeant Hollis participated in the first meeting with Tyler Technologies as we move towards e-tickets, which will help us keep working towards being completely paperless. One of the huge advantages of being paperless is we save a significant amount of time in both the front end processing and also in the back end when we're looking for information. That goes with anything. Representatives from the Tillamook County Justice Court, the Tillamook County Emergency Communications Center, also known as Tillamook 911, were also present in that meeting. This week, Chief Rao and Lieutenant Trox will be attending a follow-up meeting this Thursday, and Sergeant Harrell has invested over 6 months in this project above and beyond his normal duties to ensure his success with the assistance of our Tillamook Police Department Traffic Control Officer, Vanderhoff. Your Tillamook Police Department is going to be participating in several community events this week, and these are all on December 3rd, which is, I believe, this Saturday. So 9 to 3, Battle for the Badge, the Cops Youth Wrestling Tournament at Tillamook High School. Lieutenant Troxel and Sergeant Halls will be in attendance. Chief Rao, Officer Martinez, and our school resource officer will be there at 9 a.m. for the presentation of the colors and national anthem. This event is sponsored by the Mook Mat Club, a local nonprofit, and will be raising money to donate to COPS, which stands for Concerns of Police Survivors. Their mission statement is providing shattered lives of survivors and coworkers affected by line-of-duty deaths. The COPS offers training assistance to law enforcement agencies nationwide on how to respond to the tragic loss of a member of law enforcement possession. COPS is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization. COPS programs and services are funded by grants and donations. Lieutenant Troxel and his wife Nicole work tirelessly with other volunteers to make sure the event runs every year. We also want to thank the Tillamook School District for their valued partnership for this event. Also on December 3rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. there will be a toy drive with the Tillamook Fire Department at the Fred Myers. Chief Rao and Sergeant Olson will also be there helping with the toy drive. And from 4 to 7 on December 3rd, Tillamook Christmas tree lighting and parade. Sergeant Harrell will be working on putting an operations plan together for this event, and I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. I just want to mention that the police department continues to build a strong presence of proactive law enforcement in our community in many ways. One of these ways is by proactive law enforcement patrol. When our officers are not on a call or writing a report, they are proactively patrolling our community. This is a policy that was put in place last spring. Also last spring, the police department has reopened to the public after nearly 4 years of the police department being closed during regular business hours to allow public direct access to law enforcement. And finally, effective last year, the patrol officers' hours were changed to allow 2 to 4 times more officers on shift without any additional cost to the public. This is simply a matter of creating effective scheduling, and that was Chief Rao made those recommendations to the police department, and they embraced it, and their union embraced it as well, and it's been a wonderful change for our community. I know those were done last year, but I just wanted to reemphasize those to show how much we're trying to do for our public, for everyone. And finally, the annual reminder of our city's annual tree, reminder of the city's annual tree lighting ceremony. On this Saturday, December 3rd, between 4 and 7 p.m., the City of Tillamook will be celebrating our 20th annual tree lighting ceremony. Please bring your families and friends to City Hall for a festive time filled with all the cozy feels this holiday season. The City of Tillamook will hold a coloring contest, a winter's market full of local vendors, performances from locals, hot cocoa and popcorn stand, photos with Santa, annual tree lighting, a performance by the Tillamook High School Choir, catered food, and lots of elves to help you throughout the event. Following the annual tree lighting, the city will host the annual light parade, which is sponsored, organized, and put on by the Tillamook Area Chamber of Commerce President Lisa Greiner, and we will be helping with that and supporting that. The city hopes you'll stay and enjoy the parade too. That's all I have, Commissioner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that information. Okay, moving on to South County. Doug, are you with us this morning?
I am, Commissioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
A couple of things. So happened that last week my wife and I were at my daughter's for Thanksgiving, and so when we were on the way back, we made arrangements to stop and see the football game, Tillamook and Estacada. And it's one of those things where, unfortunately, Tillamook lost, but they didn't lose any class. It was a classy game. There were about 5,000 people there. It was a good night for football. No rain, but cold. And so the kids have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of by losing. They finished second in the whole state of Oregon, and that's pretty good. It's one of those things I think that kids will be remembering their whole life. They'll tell their grandchildren someday, back then they played football for the state championship, and not everybody can say that. So that was a good thing. Second thing I wanted to mention, there are holiday bazaars now all over South County coming up, I think, this weekend, December 2nd or 3rd. And there's one at the Kiwanda Community Center, possibly one in Cloverdale and others. So the season is upon us. And then finally, as mentioned by Senator-elect Weber, the Chamber has its annual banquet, and that's 1 week from today, December 6th, at the Kiwanda Community Center. We still have some tickets available. You can pay at the door, but we do need to know if you're coming because we have to guarantee a number of enough food and the meals from a local provider. So if you wanted to come down, you dial 503-965-3633. That's the Chamber's number. Simply leave a message and your number, and we'll get right back to you and make sure you're confirmed in, and then you can pay at the door. And the speaker, as mentioned, is a local grad. He's a Nestucca grad back about 15 years ago, who went on to the University of Montana, and then he became a sports writer. And he went over into Utah for a number of years, but for the last 9 years, he's covered the Los Angeles Lakers, among others, in Southern California. And there was an opening at the Oregonian as a sports columnist. He took that position and is now the chief sports columnist for the Oregonian. So that's a local grad, makes good story for sure. He's returning home, bringing much of his family with him for this event. And so, as I said, we do have some seats left. And so on a Tuesday night, if you've got nothing to do, you should be here, say hello to this person and catch up with a few other people and start the holiday season. So the number again is 503-965-3633. And we'll do our best to get a seat for you and get you in. So with that, Commissioner, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Doug. Appreciate that. Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. So I would like to thank KPIL for broadcasting and everyone for attending today. Please be cautious as we go through the storm system of the next few days, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week. We will adjourn this meeting at 8:53 a.m.